their own weight directly to their face, really. Mr. Trump speaking to our allies today at the new NATO headquarters. The president saying the time has come for all 28 nations in the alliance to shoulder the burden of keeping us all safe from the growing threat of terrorism.
The NATO of the future must include a great focus on terrorism and immigration, as well as threats from Russia and on NATO's eastern and southern borders. These grave security concerns are the same reason that I have been very, very direct with Secretary Stoltenberg and members of the alliance in saying that NATO members must finally contribute their fair share and meet their financial obligations.
Joining me now, Nile Gardiner, director of the Margaret Thatcher Center for Freedom at the Heritage Foundation. We're trying to collect all European accents on this program today now, so it's nice to have you on the program.
Great to be here. Thank you, Jenna.
It's really appreciate it, and your expertise, of course. I think we're talking a lot about the NATO countries and their contributions, but perhaps we're not expressing it in the most accurate way, because this is not as if the countries are not putting money into the jar, right? Nile, can you explain? They're supposed to put 2% of their spending of GDP, that's what they're supposed to commit within their own countries. Can you just give us a little cliff notes of what exactly we're talking about with spending?
Right. Well, President Trump is really referring to the NATO commitment of all member states to spend at least 2% of their GDP on defense. And at the moment, only 5 countries actually do so: the United States, the United Kingdom, Greece, Poland, and Estonia. And so far too many NATO countries have not been spending enough on their defense, meeting the minimum commitment. This includes countries like France, for example, Germany, which only spends 1.2% of its GDP on defense. So President Trump was absolutely right to send a clear message to the NATO alliance that all NATO members have to spend more.
If I could just ask you, why are they not spending more? Is it internal domestic politics for them, that they have other concerns, that it's difficult for them to tell their people, hey, we're going to spend this much on defense? What's the reason?
Well, it's a whole host of reasons, really, varying from country to country. But in the case of, Germany, France, for example, they prefer to spend money on, vast welfare systems as opposed to building up their military. And they're also, of course, relying upon the defensive umbrella that the United States has provided for so many decades. And in many ways, NATO has become a sort of two-tier alliance where the United States and the United Kingdom largely bear the overwhelming burden of military operations, while too many European countries do not invest in their own defense. It's unacceptable, for example, that Germany, Europe's largest economy, spends so little on defense. And so the Germans significantly punch way under their weight on the international stage. It was very interesting today to see Emmanuel Macron, the new French president, smirking in the background when President Trump made his remarks. And it demonstrates, I think, this sort of arrogance that you see in many European countries, and also the deep-seated anti-Americanism that exists in countries like France. But the reality is, French freedom has been dependent upon the defensive alliance led by the United States for so many decades, and it would be very good for Monsieur Macron to remember that.
Well, to be fair, we wouldn't appreciate it if a European leader came over here and told us that we had to commit more to welfare programs, right? Let's just take a different scenario. We might get a little bit like, wait a minute, who are you going to tell me to do that? Is this different, though, now? Is this somehow different with NATO and defense spending, or is it sort of the same thing? There's some, personal dynamics that are getting in the way. Yeah,
no, I think this is a different case here to that of, say, a European leader coming over to the United States lecturing the American people. The NATO alliance is an alliance for all of its member states. Everyone needs to contribute towards it. The United States has led this alliance for many, many decades and will continue to do so, but the US has been bearing the overwhelming military burden of the NATO alliance. It's only right that the US president calls upon fellow NATO members to step up to the plate, to invest more in their own defense, frankly. And the NATO alliance has been an extraordinarily successful alliance. But in order to continue that success, we need to see commitment from all NATO members to support the alliance.
Now, we didn't get to it today. I have to run, but I'd love you to come back to talk a little bit about whether or not our priority is in the right place. Should it be about spending when it comes to NATO? Should it have been more focused on Russia and an emerging Russia? So that'll be our topic of conversation next. But we appreciate your time and we look forward to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Great conversation. Now to this, a growing opioid epidemic ruining lives all across